8:30, we can go ahead and get started. By calling the Utility Policy Committee meeting on Thursday, May 8th, 2025 to order. First item is to set the agenda. Any changes or corrections? Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll support.
Motion by Peter, second by John to set the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is introductions and guests. We could go around and introduce ourselves. We could get new members.
I'll start. I'm Steve Vicente. I'm with the city. I'm the first alternate filling in for Mayor Anderson today.
Jeff Chamberlain with the City of Kalamazoo.
Libby Heine-Cogswell, the Regional Commission.
Tom Lee, Pryor Newhoff, engineer for Regional Commission.
James Maker, City of Kalamazoo. I'm a staff member, not a board member.
John Crum, Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority.
William Rowland, City of Kalamazoo.
Peter Hefner with Braideveld Hefner. I represent the Regional Commission, or with the Hefner Group.
Mark Elliott, engineer and township hall.
Jeff Sorensen, Chair, Regional Commission and Cooper Township Supervisor.
Bear Priest, Richland Township.
Christina Hutchings, Ross Township. Good morning.
Ross Township. Good morning, Sherry Bell, Oshtemo Township.
Anna Crandall, City of Kalamazoo.
Ricardo Garcia, intern at the City of Kalamazoo.
And then online with us today, looks like 4 attendees from Stantec, a couple from Stantec, and 2 others.
Marcus Serving, Lawrence Universal.
Thank you. Next is acceptance of the April 10th, 2025 draft minutes. Any changes there?
Move approval. I would second.
There's a motion by Jeff Chamberlain and a second by Peter Hafner to accept the April 10th, 2025 minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Any public comment today from those here in person or virtually?
Right quick, will we have time to comment after the meeting?
This is the time during the meeting for public comment.
What areas will you guys be discussing?
There's
Your jurisdictions.
there is an agenda of items that's available on the website that covers the agenda items for today's business meeting.
Okay.
It's under the City Utility Policy Committee on the web.
Is it the same policy that you're going to be affecting, that will be affecting Kalamazoo, that's going to affect Oshtemo? Is that what you're debating? As an increase?
I'm not certain of the question, and this isn't a question and answer time, really. I'm happy to answer a question separately outside of this meeting or contact the City of Kalamazoo.
Okay, so in case it is, and you are going to, at this meeting, discuss that.
I'm not sure what.
Hold on. It's my comment. So if you're discussing that, because I haven't seen the agenda, if you're discussing that, I lobby for you guys not to make any more increases because it's causing people to become homeless out here. The rates are unaffordable. So you're causing more of an increase to people that don't have it already. Just to think of that, and just to think about fixed incomes. I'll go read the agenda, and I'll be back.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. The item 6A, the one is the neighborhood expansion policy, and the UPC did adopt that policy at our meeting last month in April
With some modifications.
with some modifications. Those were incorporated into the final document, and then that document was provided in the packet today, so everyone has a copy of the final document.
And there's a couple of strikeouts, I don't know where those are from, but they should just be removed. I think that's what you call them. There's a nod and a but. So I don't know where that came from, perhaps. I made the modifications and provided them to Tom or Libby, but those could be pulled out, and that's it.
Okay.
And the last modifications that were made were just grammatical.
Yep. And it added, if you look at the very bottom, it added line 4 for our, kind of, just for us to follow. It said townships will have to provide the resolution that said they are required to connect.
We did talk about that change
Yep.
at the last meeting.
Exactly, yes. So more informational than anything, right, Libby?
Correct, because there were changes, we thought,
Here it is.
yes, this is the final document. Any questions or comments on that? Next item is the capital improvement plan, and we received a more extensive update last month. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add this month to that.
I'll just add that we're in budget time now, so we're working with our plan for next year. We'll be working with Stantec to put that together. And so if there's changes at the township level, or if there's, projects that need to move around, now is the time to let us know. So I'd encourage townships to reach out to us if they have, either road projects that are moving around, or they've got their own projects that are moving around.
Thank you. And we do have the overall capital plan that incorporated all the township projects, but if things have changed, is what you're looking for.
Correct, yep.
Next item is an action item, the Westnich project, the water transmission oversizing. And do you want to introduce this item?
Sure, this item's been, a similar item's been before. You can see previously, we continue this work. This work is coming in phases. If you remember, last year, I believe we brought 2 different phases forward to the UPC to extend 24-inch transmission along Park Avenue. So this request is continuing in that work in Westnich Avenue. This also coordinates with a project for sanitary sewer and for Arcadia Creek. So this is a pretty large project that's gonna incorporate a lot of different things together. So the cost for the water main is about $2.14 million. I've got a handout available for folks at the UPC. If anybody in the audience would like one, we can get you one after the meeting. And I can even give you mine here as soon as I'm done. The project's about $12 million, so the water main portion of it is about 2.14. This project, even though it's delivered in phases, really the goal of it is to replace what was a 1930s era 20-inch transmission main that went from Burdick area all the way up to our Blakesley Reservoir. We're now working through several projects, including our Central Consolidation Project, Burdick Street Project, our Michigan Ave, Kalamazoo Ave, this project, to create a redundant 24-inch lines that go all the way up to Blakesley. That will, in the future, allow us to take that 1930s era line out of service. We've also got some work planned for that 1930s line to the north of Kalamazoo, where it gets much larger diameter. We're actually working with a firm to do a robotic internal inspection to send a fish in the line that will provide telematics and inspection information of that pipeline. So that's yet to come, and that will provide some additional information on the reliability of that pipeline. But in this section that we're working through here presently, it's gonna provide that redundancy. There's a second page of this. It looks like this. It's a description of that Arcadia Creek project, but it does provide a little bit of a map where you can see kind of Michigan Ave, Kalamazoo Ave, Park and Westnedge. So Park and Westnedge are kind of like the H between the green line on the top, which is Kalamazoo, and the orange line on the bottom, which is Michigan. All those colors represent different construction years. So we've got this work planned now all the way through the end of 2027 into 2028. And you see that on this picture there. So I'll take any questions and happy to respond to any comments the board members may have related to this project.
So on this map, this is Streets for All, so it's more than just the water.
Correct.
So the water part we're talking about with this oversizing is,
Just Westnedge from Kalamazoo to Michigan.
gotcha, okay.
James, this is right next door to the new arena.
That's correct.
And so the water system is actually benefiting from the developer participating in this project as opposed to the water system doing it on its own?
Certainly.
A fair statement?
Yeah, that's a great point. The water system doing this work on its own would be far more expensive. That cost is gonna be much more than $2 million to do this work. And that's kind of typical throughout all this, is that we're working together, really kind of in an asset management plan approach and strategy. So we're working with the street projects. Streets are gonna fund a good portion of that through federal grants. You've got, you see that the developers contributing almost $6 million to this section of work here. So that there's a lot of sources and uses coming together to make this all possible.
So as I understand it, the new arena is not driving the project, but you're taking advantage of the arena project.
Correct.
You
Yeah,
don't need that kind of water.
correct. Yeah, so they're, the driver behind the redundancy of the 24-inch main is, really looking at, before these projects started, we had a 1930s era single transmission main from our main central pump station all the way up to Blakesley. It was adequate diameter, but not necessarily adequate when we look at future growth, and not necessarily adequate when we look at consolidating central. And so when I say consolidation at central, I'm referring to taking other pump stations around the area offline and producing more water at central. So if we produce more water at central, in the future, we're gonna need to be pushing more water through these transmission mains. The other benefit of having the redundancy is that if there is some sort of catastrophic failure in the future, that we'll be able to valve off and isolate a section of it. So if in the future, Park Street had a catastrophic water main break on that 24-inch section, we could valve off and just isolate into the western section. Currently, if that were to happen, the entire system would shut down because that amount of water would drain our Blakesley Reservoir. Our Blakesley Reservoir is 7.5 million gallons, and we use that to push out into all the other districts. So the system would have, you know, a massive pressure loss to the extent which we couldn't control, which would then trigger a system-wide boil water advisory. So redundancy and resiliency of the system is really important for us as we look into the future.
Hey, Libby, this Marcus keeps trying to talk, and I don't know if you want to address that or not. I mean, he's talking so people in the Zoom can hear him. We can't because I have him muted in the room. He's talking incessantly in the Zoom.
You mute him as a participant.
Can we mute him?
He can unmute himself after I mute him, though.
One question I have on this item is, and this body is looking at what pertains to the water. Was this item in the capital plan and in the capital budget for this year, or is this a change?
Yes, yeah, this item is in the capital plan. There may be some adjustments through the years as we work on that, as we receive bids. Sometimes those budgets may need to be adjusted. I know this project, we are having to adjust the street budget or amend for that amount. So I don't think there was any, within that water line item, there was no need for any kind of amendment. We had, I believe we had the resources to make that happen. And of course, that's all kind of part of our planned approach incrementally to do this work, which is gonna take us, through 2028 in the main sections, and then north of these locations will be further into the future from that.
It's important to note that, the capital improvement plan is a plan of what you want to do in the future, but stuff comes up in utilities that you didn't anticipate, or there's development that happens that you can take advantage of. So from the UPC standpoint, it's important for us to know the capital improvement plan and look at it, but then also if things change, if major things change, and this is a big thing. Just a side street situation, but just know that the communication is appreciated, that we understand what's going on. If there's any big change pops up.
And that this information on the capital plan is on the city's website. It goes out multiple years, 10 years maybe?
I believe we show 5 years, but we do have a planning CIP that does go out 20 years actually.
Right, and we've grown to learn that as these projects develop, especially when there's an opportunity, they might be shifted earlier or later, but it's in the plan already, so.
Yeah.
Do you want us to take action on this, or just informational?
If the board's prepared to, approve that the water oversizing and, I believe it's a water oversizing request in the amount of 2.14 million, if they're prepared to take that action, we'd appreciate it.
I would make a motion that we approve or support oversizing project Galesburg North 35th. Or that's a different line.
That's a different one.
Westnedge, I'm sorry. For the city to take action to oversize that line.
Support.
There's a motion by Peter Hafner and a second by Tom Wheat to support this oversizing as described, and just any other discussion. I would add that I'm in support of this as it's for the reasons discussed, and also this, we had a comment about the rates earlier in the meeting, and this, because it was a known capital project, I believe it has already been incorporated into the rate structure, so it's not, it shouldn't affect the rates further. All those, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 6AB is the Galesburg North 35th Street franchise agreement. And
I will tell the story as it exists up till today. So a few weeks ago, the city of Galesburg was contacted by a new use that was approved in Comstock Township. So the Galesburg here, this is good. The green area is Comstock Township. Just to the east of it is Galesburg, if you can zoom out. So a new use was approved by Comstock Township in the green area. And it was a few years ago when they're finally getting it built. They came to Galesburg because there's a water main that runs up. And let me go back. So Galesburg's to the east of that line, that's 35th Street. There's been a franchise agreement for Galesburg to serve Comstock Township, and that's the pink area, including that little, the blue hatched out area. And Galesburg has been supplying water to them for 40 years. City of Kalamazoo also has water main that gets to, that's Bentler, just to the west of the pink area, Bentler Industries.
Yeah, it's Shiloh now, but
Yeah, okay,
yes.
Shiloh. The city serves water just to the east of that building. And then south of Shiloh is pump station 33. So the city has water main across Morrow Pond. So that was the existing situation. This use was approved by Comstock. They came to Galesburg to get water off of 35th Street because there's Galesburg water on 35th Street. And Galesburg's like, well, that's not in our franchise area. We can't serve you. So in investigating that situation, we also found that there are 2 other residential properties in that green area that are already served by Galesburg. And we found out that the blue hatched area is an area served by the city of Kalamazoo in the Galesburg franchise area. So both water systems are sort of bleeding into each other for good reasons. So we put together this map a couple weeks ago and sent it to James and sent it to Galesburg and said, hey, this is a good time to clean this up because it really makes sense for that green area to be served by Galesburg because it's very unlikely the city's ever going to provide water up 35th Street. And while we're doing that, let's clean up that the blue hatched area. And I believe what happened there was an emergency well out of service. The water was right there. And the city agreed to provide service. And I don't know if there was any side agreement between the city and Galesburg, but I don't have any record of that.
I'm not aware of any.
So we put this together, sent it to James. You had indicated that would be something that the city would be approving of, which would probably require maybe some action by the UPC, or at least the blessing of the UPC. So then this week, Comstock Township is looking at building a fire barn, I think on that bigger parcel. I don't know if you can put a. Is this the proper one? That one?
I think it's just to the west of that. I believe it's that one.
Anyway, to put a new fire station there, and they're looking for water. And James like, well, yeah, we could supply you with water. Let me know if I misstate anything. Because the city is actually going to be running water from where they are at Shiloh, east down East Michigan Avenue, down 35th Street, to tie back into Station 39 for redundancy and for system improvements. And that's in the capital improvement plan.
Correct.
So I haven't sent this to the UPC. I did send it to you, just I marked it out. And I think probably the way to clean it up would be to do the green area. But then if you are willing to service the people along East Michigan Avenue off that transmission line, then the franchise area would be green, would be pink in the residential area. And then the city would serve the people along East Michigan Avenue up to here, because these people could be still served off Galesburg. So it's just a matter of, there's a couple different projects going on, and we need to clean up that franchise area, just so that we clean it up, right? So I think that, I don't think there's any action the UPC needs to make today, because I don't think we're prepared for it. But I think by the next meeting, we can clean this up, get the blessing from the system, and then get the blessing, get agreement from the system, from Comstock Township and Galesburg in concept. Have the UPC bless it or approve it at the next meeting, and then have some attorney amongst the three of them put together the proper language for everybody to have agreements, because it's gonna need to go to the township board, both the township, Comstock Township Board, to Galesburg, and the city through the UPC.
And so, Tom, the driver is that white portion, the little arrow saying, we would like water, and then that kind of brought this
That's
to
what,
light.
yeah, well, that was probably about a month ago. That was the first part of it, and then the township building their fire barn and asking for water is a second thing, and it changed, it amended the original map.
So right now, the green portion, no one has the ability to serve, or has a franchise to serve that.
Well, the city does.
Oh, okay, yes, but they don't have
That's
any water there.
But there's no water there.
Right, okay.
And Galesburg has pipe up 35th Street to serve, there's on the very north end of the green on the Galesburg side, there's a assisted living facility that water goes up to. And actually, they are gonna be looping back to the water tower to the east, which is off the map. So,
So if the city extends east to serve the fire station, does that change the franchise on the north side of Michigan Ave?
that is one big property right now, and they can be served by Galesburg. I don't know, I mean, it's,
There's, somebody would have to extend water main,
Yeah.
and we're already planning to do it with our transmission project. One of the things about the fire barn that's unique is that their demands would be pretty high. They'd be filling trucks quite often. They could also serve as a spot to have like a system flushing valve, so we could coordinate and, really create some benefits for the system at that location that would support kind of our transmission loop. That transmission loop that Tom talked about really is all about supporting development along the NAV corridor between Comstock Township, Pavilion Township, as well as a housing development in Comstock Township, just south of 94. And we're just seeing a whole lot of development in that area, and that's a good thing, both commercial and residential. And it's, would be really benefit to tie those systems together. That further supports inter-district reliability, because this is essentially tying East Side High and High together, taking advantage of a lot of storage that we have in High. We can bring that into East Side High. And then we also have some limited stations in East Side High. So we only have one source in East Side High. That's our Campbell Lake facility. With this loop and these connections, we're then able to kind of connect High to East Side High. So both systems can benefit, both districts can benefit from the ability to move that water around. And these mains would be pretty big, like the main on 33rd Street, it's a 24-inch diameter main. So these mains that would be on East Michigan and 35th Street would be somewhere at least 16 inches, they could be up to 24. We haven't completed the full detailed design of what that looked like yet.
And then for on the north side of M9, of East Main and you got East Main and you got the Amtrak. So that's sort of a natural barrier to get it across the street to go north. Just to get it across would be very, very expensive. So it really makes financial sense to come off of 35th Street, especially since that parcel is one big parcel. And if somebody were to need water there, it would be either a development or, you know, some facility that could be master planned in the first phases of it so that we could come off of 35th Street in an orderly fashion.
Well, that would come from Galesburg?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. New business, we have the professional services, and under that, we had the request last month to have a discussion about member stipend. And I put together a memo that includes the excerpt from the UPC bylaws in terms of member compensation. And essentially, those who are designated professionals, the bylaws state professional or non-professional can receive a per diem that this body would set. We have information this morning from the city attorney that we can set the professional per diem, but we really don't have the authority for non-professionals. So I think we're talking about professionals today, so we just won't get into the non-professional situation. And I put some discussion points there. In a nutshell, we have members appointed by the Regional Commission who are submitting in professionals, have consulting businesses who submit invoices to the city of Kalamazoo for their time that they spend on this body. And then we have other professionals who are employed elsewhere, and their compensation comes from that employment, such as Steve and John. And then there are some members who presently are not receiving any compensation. They are former employees in this field. So they are professionals, but not employed, and they don't have a consulting business at this time. And the mayor brought up at the last meeting that he thought that they should receive some kind of compensation. And he talked about a stipend. When I looked at the bylaws that we adopted early on, for the UPC, it talks about a per diem. And I think that's a standard language, so we should just talk about that. And to get some kind of a basis for a recommendation, I looked at the invoices from the city's professional consultant, who's no longer on this board, Jim Escamilla, and timesheets, invoices for the 3 years, and particularly for 2024, because the first couple of years we had a lot of time involved with getting things up and running. And his time averaged 2 to 2.5 hours for the 2024 meetings.
A month, per meeting.
Per meeting, yep. So, in light of that, I arrived at a recommendation of $150 per diem for the professional members. And then we would also need to consider the appointment of those professional members. Right now, we took action to appoint professional members early on, then invoice, and it was Peter and Tom. Others were compensated elsewhere.
And Jim.
And Jim,
Yes.
yes, and Jim's no longer here. So those that we're talking about would be Jeff Chamberlain, you're no longer employed at the city, you are a
He's a
professional
consultant, right?
professional consultant.
Right.
Um,
Will,
Will is appointed by the city as a professional appointee.
so it would be Will.
Will, and then we have the township alternate, Mark Elliott, also appointed by the regional commission to serve as alternate, and he's no longer employed otherwise. So those are the 3 individuals we would be talking about appointing as
Right, Will and you have
Jeff.
worked- Jeff is actually,
but he's a consultant like you, so I think, and we took action to appoint you. I think.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So it would be
I
Jeff,
wasn't following.
Will, and Mark. Yeah. I think we need to take official action on that. We need to set a per diem, and then also from the city, and it doesn't involve our action today, but I understand from Director Baker that the city commission needs to approve any kind of compensation for former employees. So if we take action today, then I would think, Will would need to work with James to get that approval at the city commission. That's the nutshell of what we're looking at, and open to questions or discussion or thoughts how to proceed.
So we took action to compensate myself, Jim and Tom, and so we should take action to compensate
Jeff, Will, and Mark, yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
yes, and then, and propose that those that aren't employed by a business, they would receive the per diem.
correct.
And is that per diem sufficient, excessive, what have you? Is the-
Correct.
Yes.
So, question is, for Jeff, who is now an LLC, would that be considered a business?
Just in the same way as Prine and Newhoff is.
Right.
Yeah, and this has already been approved by the city commission back in March.
Okay.
You know, it came to them publicly, and they voted on it publicly. As me being representative as a former employee, but also now being a representative on behalf of the city of Kalamazoo.
So I think the mayor was interested in doing such a thing, and I'm in support of doing such a thing, whether that rate seems reasonable to me. Do you want to wordsmith what we're gonna try to approve here?
Before we do
Oh,
that,
go ahead.
I have a general question is, we have this in the bylaws. Do we have to amend the bylaws to do this? Instead of just pass a policy on the side? Because we have it in the bylaws that we will pay professionals based on their professional rate.
And I think we're doing what's in the bylaws with this action. Because we are paying the professionals based on their rate. Oh,
I guess I'm wondering if we're conflicting the bylaws by setting a rate versus paying the professional rate as it's listed in the bylaw here. I think we agree to provide them professional services per their rates, but then we're gonna now set the rate at a standard amount. So does that
Well,
require a
we're
bylaw
only
change?
Yeah, that's a good point of distinction. We're only setting a per diem, as this allows, for those who do not have a business
Okay,
and are not invoicing toward with their rate.
okay, no, that
So I
clears
think-
that,
I
that clears
think-
that up for me then, so we're doing this for the non-professionals, or the non-businesses.
The non-businesses, they are
Unemployed,
professionals.
Or what
Yeah.
have you, not employed elsewhere.
Not
What have you. You got lots of work, but.
At least that's how I read it, that the compensation could be invoiced from a professional consultant, or we could set a per diem. And we're setting the per diem for those who don't have that professional business, but they are professionals.
Yes.
They bring professional expertise.
Yeah.
I think what you proposed is consistent with the question the mayor asked and was looking to accomplish, so thank you.
So then Peter's question, how do we,
Motion.
yeah,
I would make a motion to compensate Main Meridian for your time. Would that make sense?
No, because he's a business.
Right, but that is his business.
But I don't think we need to do that because the city of Kalamazoo already took care of
Okay.
it when Jeff became the official replacement for Jim.
Let me try this.
Yeah, I think Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Jeff is already covered under the
Jeff's-
bylaws
okay,
as
all
a
right.
separate business.
I will make a motion, because we don't need to make a motion on those of us who've been doing it. I'll make a motion that professional members who are not part of a business be compensated for their efforts here at $150 per diem.
Per meeting.
Yeah, per diem per meeting, yep.
I would second that motion.
there's a motion by Tom Lee and support by Peter Hafner to provide the professional members of the UPC who are not part of a business and otherwise compensated at a per diem rate of $150 per meeting. Is that correct? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And James, you'll take some action with,
Yeah,
Your
I'll work with management services and, you know, with, Will and, Mark, if I need items or something, I'll reach out direct and just kind of go through our process.
Do we need to vote on the professional members like we did previously?
that's what I tried to do, but,
Right. Well, I know that the city was concerned there were initially,
right.
going probably back too far, but, you know, that there would be too much request for compensation for serving on this body.
I don't know that we need to, the city's
Okay.
already approved it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then we have invoice approvals, and there are two. One from the Hafner Group and one from Main and Meridian.
I'll move action to approve the Main Meridian invoice 103 for $449.25.
I would second that.
There's a motion by Steve Vincenzi and a second by Peter Hafner to approve the invoice from Main Meridian as described. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
I'm sorry.
Motion carries 6-0 and 1 abstention. And then there's the,
I'll move approval for the Hefner Group invoice 1045 in the amount of $989.
Support.
There's a motion by Steve Vincenzi and a second by Will Rowland to approve the Hefner Group invoice as described. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I would abstain.
Motion carries 6-0 and 1 abstention. Next, item 8 is committee member, alternates, attendees, and guest comments. And we'll start with those in attendance. Any comment this morning? No?
We're gonna be adding users in Oshtemo here pretty soon, so more on details in the very near future.
I have EPA coming out on the 16th of this month to review our water system. Guess I was asking Jim. There's something on security there on. Do you have fences around all of your units, and do you camera your units?
Not all units are fenced, and not all units are cameraed, but we do have cameras and fencing. We also have entry alarms, so we've got, protections in place. We've participated in EPA, security audits.
Yeah, I
And,
guess that's what we're getting part of.
Yep, that's something that water systems have to participate in. There's recommendations that we've been asked to make, or there's been recommendations that EPA has provided us and asked us to make some improvements. So within our capital plan, there are some, they're really kind of low impact. They're not things that raise to the level that we bring to the UPC, but there are projects for fencing, there's projects for cameras, there's projects for fiber, because we've got to run the fiber lines to connect the buildings to our computer system so that we can have the bandwidth to monitor and camera and bring that stuff back, and radio systems to bring the telemetry if it's activated. So there's programs in place that do support that work, and it's kind of an ongoing thing. It seems like as soon as we get all the recommendations in place, some new calamity has happened, and so EPA has got new recommendations to make our sites more secure.
Thank you.
James, is that threat and risk group still working with the Kalamazoo County Sheriff, the U.S. Marshals and Services? Are they still in effect?
They are. We've also been working with Department of Homeland Security, so we've got a Department of Homeland Security officer that works with us directly and meets with our groups and kind of gives us updates on, things. This is an evolving item, and threats and risks that are identified in and across the country are brought to us, and we're made aware of them, and there's recommendations on how to respond to them.
Thank you. Any comment, Mark?
One quick comment, if I may. Georgia Pacific has contacted Cooper Township regarding the water that was ran because of the parchment PFAS situation. And I emailed James yesterday regarding getting addresses of people that did not hook up. It is their intention is to try and get everybody to hook up at no charge, and they'll pay the freight on that. So I just wanted to let you know on the water system that Scott Kiesling from Georgia Pacific reached out a couple of times, and we're gonna try and they would like myself or Cooper Township to reach out to these people, and then they're gonna set up something either with Cooper or the city or something that when one of those services is requested, that they hook up and be paid back. So I thought that was
It's great.
I thought that was great from Georgia Pacific. So thank you.
Online comment? And any member comment? Tom?
If I could, just want to talk about water affordability. Kalamazoo does have a water affordability program that's available, not just for all the 11 member communities in the water system, but also the 22 member communities that are part of our wastewater system. And so both water and wastewater, we've got some members that may only be wastewater members, and we've got members that might be water members, and of course, we've got both. Anybody that is experiencing challenges in paying their water bill can contact the number at 877-422-2726 for an appointment that would get you entered into our affordability program that pays for water bill arrears. You have program eligibility requirements are 200% of federal poverty. However, there's also categorical enrollment qualifications. So if you are already receiving benefits through the state of Michigan for supplemental nutrition assistance programs or many other health or other benefit programs, you will automatically qualify with this. So I encourage anybody that's experiencing water affordability challenges to please call that number. That number is 1-877-422-2726.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any comment, Will?
Just a question. As people being introduced, I heard young ladies from Ross Township. Is Ross on one of the systems?
Not with the city of Kalamazoo.
Okay, all right. I asked that question because I knew there was some years ago, there was some exploratory discussion there and about developing the property there that the city had purchased there at Ross Township. Actually, I believe they put in I know we did put in some experimental wells out there, but they never came on the system. I was just curious. I've been gone 15 years, so I was wondering if it ever happened, that's all.
Well, welcome back. And so that property development isn't up to Ross Township, so I would defer to James Baker.
Okay, okay.
No comment, thank you.
Nothing.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's attendance, and we have exhausted the agenda. Our next meeting is June 12th, and we are adjourned.